What's up, everybody? Welcome to Enter the Ring Live for Sunday, October the 10th, man. What a big weekend of boxing with your hosts, a subdued Mighty Mike.
Yeah. A somewhat brain damaged AJ Rage.
And a very tired Eric the Red.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm a little under the weather, but I'll be all right. Just been sick a couple days, but anyways, man.
I got meds coming to you tomorrow, brother.
Thanks, brother.
You'll have it by Tuesday.
Hey, man, we got a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it, man. You guys are both doing okay. How's mom doing? I know mom wasn't feeling well.
Mom's sick, but you know what? We're taking care of her. She's gonna be fine.
Tell her don't sleep on her back. Don't sleep on her back when you have a cough. You got to sleep on your front.
Yeah, or your side or something.
And nothing cold. Nothing. Yeah. So
I will. I'll let her know.
This craziness, man, that we're dealing with. Anyways, man.
Crazy.
Let's I know we were gonna obviously talk about the Tyson Fury trilogy with Deontay Wilder, but I know there was quite a few undercards. I mean, there was an entirely different show on DAZN that ended up being a pretty damn good show.
Yeah.
Here's what's crazy about the DAZN cards, the matchroom cards. The ones that you expect to be so great aren't so great. And the ones that you're just like, should I turn it on and watch it? Okay, I got nothing to do. Boom. Turned out to be a great card.
Yeah.
Fights were competitive. I mean, they were all really good. That Chad Cheeseman fight was great. But I mean, maybe we just talk about the main event on that one.
Sure.
About real quick. Liam Smith and Anthony. I say Anthony, they say Anthony Fowler.
Yeah.
Man, what a fight, man.
You know what's neat is my little Sherry, she was in Liverpool that day. She said
I saw that.
Yeah, she was in Liverpool that day. I was like, it's like could only be there.
Dude, she could have probably got tickets to I don't know though. It looked like it was they sold that show out though pretty quick.
Yeah, they sold it out.
First people to show up with a can of tuna and an empty beer can got in, dude.
Ken is so stupid. He sends me that GIF, the one, but did you die?
Did you die?
Anyways, yeah, okay, so what was that? What was it? A 6-round stoppage?
Seventh round stoppage, wasn't it?
I thought it was 8. I thought it was 8. I'm pretty sure it was 8.
What was it? Was it round 8?
The fight went very fast because it was very, very fast paced. I mean, they came out and immediately Fowler, I thought, hurt Liam Smith and cut him in the first round. I got Dad calling us right now.
The experience was amazing. No, I mean, Liam actually, he took that first shot and I think he got stunned a little bit right there in the beginning.
Yeah, and then got cut.
But proceeded to just school Fowler. He really did.
Well, he just wore him down. He's just relentless, and he takes a heck of a shot.
Yeah.
No, he really does. He really does.
Fowler looked a lot bigger than him in the ring too.
Fowler's a really big guy for the division.
For 154. Yeah, he looked like a middleweight.
Yeah, he looked a lot bigger, I think, anyway. So
Liam Smith picks up the win. That puts him right back. I think not that he had ever fallen out of the top 10 at 154. To me, because what are his losses? Canelo, Munguia, and then a disputed loss to the Russian in his last fight. That he did not lose that fight.
No, he did not.
And he went all the way over to St. Petersburg or wherever that fight took place. Fought that
Russia.
Fight. Yeah. Anyways, good win for Liam Smith and overall a good card. I mean, let's just jump right into the one in Vegas last night at T-Mobile. Sure. There were so many fights. Good God, where do you want to start at? I mean, do you guys want to start at?
I think I would just want to touch real briefly on just the Julian J-Rock Williams.
Versus Vincent Fernandez.
Yeah,
what was his name? Fernandez.
Vladimir.
Yeah. Vladimir Hernandez.
Yeah.
Just to kind of like gloss over it a little bit. I honestly personally had J-Rock winning the fight. I think it was the wrong fight for him coming in with such a tough opponent off such a long layoff. It really reminded me of what happened to Jared Hurd in his fight. It just seems like guys like Jared Hurd and J-Rock Williams get no love from these judges and stuff. It's always that way and stuff. And it's a bad break for J-Rock, but yeah, I think he'll be back.
You know what? You're right, bro. I think here's the thing. His body language at the end of the fight, I mean, in the last several rounds, the body language was all,
wrong.
was all wrong, but I still think he built up enough of a lead in those early rounds, landed some big shots on his opponent that I can't believe he didn't go down from. But either way, these fights are scored on a 10-point must system round by round. That's what people tend to forget. I don't know. I mean, I don't understand how that fight at worst for J-Rock, I would have said a draw, but he didn't lose the fight. And this is not to discredit his opponent. But he didn't win the fight. He fought valiantly and tough, and the guy's a goddamn machine. He just keeps coming and coming and coming.
That's one thing you got to say about Hernandez, though, man. You got to take your hat off to him. He had the right game plan. Just I don't care where I'm going to throw a punch. I'm just going to continue to keep punching, and that was pretty much.
I think some of the judges saw, even though he was getting hammered a little bit early, I think the judges saw him continually pressing and pressing and pressing.
Hey, you got to give the guy credit. The guy's got a cast iron jaw.
Yeah, I mean, the guy Hernandez. I mean, he just pressed that issue and pressed it and pressed it. And sometimes it's that generalship, that ring generalmanship, whatever, however you say it. Anyway, generalship that he kind of ran that fight. I think. I think it was closer than that one judge gave it. But I do think it was the right. Personally. Yeah, so I mean, we don't always agree with.
A lot of those rounds were close. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they were close, and you could go either way. It just depends on how you're scoring it. So.
Yeah, so let's move on. Mike, over to the Edgar Berlanga versus Marcelo Caceres. Is that it?
Caceres.
Yeah, Marcelo Caceres.
Was the name Marcelo Caceres? The Argentine fighter, the experienced guy with what he had a record of 30-2 or something. His last significant loss was to Billy Joe Saunders, right? He got stopped in the 12th round.
Yeah.
Did you notice the difference in size too on that one? I mean, just Berlanga looked huge.
Well, yeah, Berlanga. I mean, I pretty much came to the conclusion yesterday. He's just a weight bully. He's just a guy that probably should be fighting at light heavyweight. He's physically thick, right? He probably comes in the ring at 180 something pounds easy. But we saw it in his last fight. I mean, even though he dropped the guy 4 times. This kid, this has to be the most overhyped fighter Top Rank has developed in a decade.
Yep.
And this goes beyond anybody. This kid has proved nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, it's the trend with Top Rank.
Yeah, he beat 17 guys who were afraid to even throw a punch. He gets in there with when the experienced guy who throws punches. And if the guy, like Max Kellerman said, was 10% better, he knocks Berlanga out in 3 rounds.
Well, if he was a guy that actually had a punch, he had 13 knockouts in 33 contests. I mean, what does that tell you?
You remember prior to his last fight, we saw the video footage of Berlanga getting dropped hard by Erickson Lube at a 154-pounder in sparring. And I'm not talking a slot. I'm talking a hard knock. I mean, he wouldn't have beat the count if there was a referee in that sparring session with headgear and with 16-ounce gloves. He's got chin problems. He's plodding, flat-footed. He's got the wrong trainer. Andre Rozier, when's the last time that guy trained anybody significant? All he does is run his fat mouth constantly, Rozier. He ran his mouth about Munguia and paid the price. He ran his mouth about, I don't remember who he was training last time as well. It wasn't Berlanga. It was somebody else he was training and got obliterated. And now his charge, the one guy that he really has that's making noise, albeit, maybe it's not deserving, just got exposed. And if all you have to do is look at social media and everybody's tearing this guy up.
Yep.
Well, yeah. I mean, I talked about it on my podcast today on Mayhem in the Morning. Berlanga, right away, he rubs you the wrong way, right at the beginning, when they go to touch your gloves, he doesn't want to touch your gloves. He's got that Teofimo-esque, kind of attitude.
Well, I hate to say that, man, this is going to sound horrible, but a lot of those Puerto Rican fighters got bad attitudes, man.
Yeah.
They just do.
But you're absolutely right, bro. This has become a trend within Top Rank boxing, obviously with what's going on with Teofimo. Teofimo, is out there running his mouth and he's losing fans every day. Then you got Edgar Berlanga, you got Xander Zion, which is another one who, once he fights a guy with the pulse, we're going to see something a little different. But Caceres, like you said, absolutely right. If he had a little bit more to his game, if he was a little bit more of a puncher, this doesn't end Edgar Berlanga's way. But what really gets to me is this morning when I got up and I anticipated it, was the excuses right away that Edgar Berlanga and his team are claiming that he tore his bicep. Well, that's got nothing to do with your chinny chin chin, buddy.
Had nothing to do with the fight. At no point did I see him wince in pain or reluctant to throw a punch because of what. It's just top rank PR department said, okay, here's a list of excuses that we can throw down, and nobody can really verify them. You know what I mean? And they're basically they have to take us to face value.
Was a 10-rounder, wasn't it?
Yeah, 10-rounder. And why did Caceres, AJ, we talked about on the phone, why did Caceres let him off the hook in the 10th round?
I talked about that today too on my podcast. I was
it's like, how much did they pay the guy? Did somebody come in the corner and go, hey man, slow down, pump the brakes. You want to get on the next card here. We can't have you go and beat our undefeated, supposed monster.
Had that
he
gone
goes out there and he dances away the 10th round. I don't know what the hell this guy's doing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it drives me absolutely nuts when guys think they got a fight in the bag. They don't realize they're the beast. They're lower than the B side in the promoters and the organizers' eyes. But yet, for some reason, Caceres stood away. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I think Caceres did his job in the sense of showing the people that Berlanga. I don't understand why this guy's so marketable. He doesn't have De La Hoya's looks. He doesn't have Lomachenko's skills. So I don't see why there's so much push for this guy.
And this kid was talking about fighting Canelo.
He hit Marcelo Caceres with some huge shots. A guy that Billy Joe Saunders had no problem putting to sleep when he decided to wake up. And Berlanga couldn't get him.
And quite honestly, I think that if this were a 12-rounder, it would have been a different outcome. I think Caceres was starting to actually.
Well, I would agree with you, except in the 10th round, he just completely didn't even fight.
He just, However,
maybe he thought he had 2 more rounds. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that was Berlanga's last, hoorah to try and ramp it up. But I honestly think had it gone 2 more rounds, Berlanga would have been out of there.
I look at it this way, bro. My discussion as far as I want to talk about Edgar Berlanga, I'm just hoping for the day when Edgar gets in there with a guy we know just one notch higher than Caceres, and it's nighty-night to Berlanga. I don't have to discuss him anymore. Maybe I'll catch him at a show over at the at the VFW or some shit like this. But
yeah, he's going to be off the radar for a while because he's going to supposedly go back to the draw, heal his injured bicep, whatever. Yeah, whatever. He injured bicep. You know what? Skills. Every fighter has little aches and pains and boo-boos, strains here or there. It just comes with the territory. I saw something yesterday on Instagram, and I don't know because it was in Spanish, so I didn't decipher it. I probably could have, but it had a picture of Jaime Munguia, and he said something, and then it said something, and a picture of Berlanga. And I don't know if Berlanga. I don't know if it was him.
I know what it is. I saw it.
I don't know what it meant.
Berlanga was talking how he would beat Munguia and he would beat this. He was naming off people that he wants to fight.
Oh my God!
Jaime
would knock that kid out in two rounds.
2 rounds.
I mean, listen. He would come out there, stand flat-footed, and start throwing punches at Jaime. And Jaime would walk through his punches and smile at the kid. And then once he started landing, the fight's over. The kid has a suspect chin. It's now been proven in sparring footage and in the fight. He was hurt in that knockdown. Him hitting himself on the ground was to try to wake himself up. He was stunned.
He was stunned in the 6th round too when he got caught with a little hook and stuff. I mean, the guy, he's a bit chinny.
He's more than a bit chinny.
So let's go ahead and move on. Go ahead, bro. So what do we got next on the? Well,
let's just jump right into the 4 heavyweight fights. We'll just go briefly because, like I said, I'm sure we got a lot to talk about with the main event. Well, the card started off with Jared Anderson versus Tereshkin, the Russian. What an embarrassing fight. I mean, the guy, Tereshkin, hadn't fought in 2 years. Comes out there. Could the guy even string together a decent 1-2 punch combination? How does a guy like that accrue a 22-0 record? This Tereshkin.
He probably was a better fighter. And I think for some reason he looked very familiar to me. Like I might have seen him in a fight before. But the moment before he was stopped from Jared Anderson, he did throw a little counter right hand that Jared Anderson kind of walked into, and right at the end of the round, and Jared Anderson kind of took a funny little step. Of course, the broadcasters completely ignored that thing. But if you get a chance, go back and look at it. Jared Anderson's another guy. He's a guy like Berlanga who's just hasn't fought anybody, and there's so much push and so much hype. And I just don't understand this because it really, in a way, it's kind of like what's going on in tennis. with these tennis players where they get thrusted into this limelight that they're not ready for.
Yeah, yeah.
Deserved.
Is boxing that desperate for the next big thing? I don't understand it. There's so many good heavyweights out there right now. I mean, you've got look what Usyk just did. You've got Fury. You've got Helenius. You've got I mean, even guys that were any part of this card, there's still a lot of other good heavyweights out there. Joseph Parker. I mean, like Joseph Parker's, love or hate him, he's still a very skilled heavyweight.
Mike the Bounty Hunter. I mean,
Mike the Bounty Hunter.
A lot of guys from the UK. You still got Anthony Joshua, Chisora, who didn't look bad in his loss to.
No, he didn't.
To Usyk. I mean,
Dillian White. I don't understand it. I mean, maybe it's because he's an American. I think he's gonna be the next big, American. And I'm all for being pro-American. I really am. If the guy's got character. To me, there's something about Jared Anderson though. He's a little bit cocky and he's a little bit aloof, and I don't like it. I like humility in fighters. It's okay to be confident when it's warranted, but I don't know. There's something about the kid I just don't really care for. I don't know what it is, man.
No, I agree. He's another one of those cocky guys who acts like he's already won like 10 world titles, and but he hasn't done anything.
No.
And
not to say that one day he can't. I mean, Tyson Fury gives him high praise and says he's a very good fighter or whatever.
Tyson Fury gives anybody that's a part of his camp, and that's Tyson Fury's, MO. You know what I'm saying? He's always giving everybody, and most of the guys that he gives praise for don't do shit. I mean, I'm not going to take his word. We'll get into that once we get into the Deontay Wilder fight, but he beats a guy that has been sitting on the couch for 2 years or whatever the hell he's been doing, shoveling snow, whatever and stuff, and and then right away he starts. He reminds me of this guy, this clown that I saw years ago named Tim Tate that fought on ESPN. The guy comes in with a 6-3 record, knocks out a guy with a 1-6 record, starts calling out Larry Holmes. These guys got delusions of grandeur, man. You got to earn it, man. So it's just ridiculous.
Where did Eric go?
I think we lost him on the feed. He'll be back in right now.
So, all right. So Jared Anderson gets a stoppage win. This just jump to the next fight, which to me was a very entertaining fight. Robert Helenius repeats in his win over Adam Kovnatsky. And God, from the minute in last week's show, I was very leery about Helenius because you just never know which guy's going to show up, man. And he still is mentally, he has lapses where you see him. I don't know if he starts to tire or he kind of reminds me of Tommy Morrison. Remember how Tommy Morrison was so great at putting punches together, and all of a sudden one round later, it's like he's completely deflated, and you're like, what is happening with this guy? Either way, Helenius came out in that first round and just, immediately rocks and hurts Kovnatsky. Apparently he broke his eye socket. So there's a fractured orbital bone Kovnatsky has. And so it looks like, he's going to be
once
on
again,
the show
bro, that orbital bone. I've never seen so many in my life, dude, in boxing, bro. In all my years around boxing, bro, I've never seen so many of these injuries.
Yeah, you're right. You're
not going to tell me guys are hitting harder than they did back in the day. Like, you're not going to tell me that Robert Helenius hits harder than Ernie Shavers. No, that's not true.
Yeah,
he's
there's
a big hitter.
It's got to be these gloves, bro. These gloves, maybe.
But no problem, Eric. But what you said about, like I said, going into this fight with Konowski, I said it at the weigh-in. I didn't like the way he looked. I'm not talking about his physical presence. I'm talking about his face. Konowski then had to resort to dirty tactics, who really hurts his character. So this, and then the disqualification, my feed stopped on my pay-per-view. It stopped, it locked up right before I guess he got disqualified. I thought Helenius was going to knock him out. And then you had told me that he had gotten disqualified when he should have been knocked out. But on Helenius, real quick, and I'll bring it back to you. I think Helenius' thing is it's that confidence thing. Ever since Helenius suffered his first loss, something happened, because that's not the same Robert Helenius, the Nordic warrior that we were so used to watching. The guy that beat Sam Peters and others. Something changed. He's got to build that confidence, because he even said it in the interview, in the post fight. Well, I didn't want to get him to knock me down. It's like, dude, how can you ever think this guy's going to knock you down?
Well, no, he was talking about Deontay Wilder, because he was sparring with Deontay, and they asked him, what was that like? He's like, well, I had to stay so-and-so.
He had to stay awake.
Stay awake so that he didn't get knocked down. So I'm
talking about when they were talking about with Konowski, when they were saying why he didn't rush it, why he didn't push the action more and try to put him to sleep. He said he didn't want to walk into something and possibly get knocked down.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't see that part, but I don't know if Kovnatsky has the power to.
I don't think he does.
Yeah, I don't. But maybe the right shot with him pulling straight back like he does, which I still don't understand why fighters at this level pull straight back. Like
Well, let's
amateur.
be honest, Hellenius is not a fighter that promotion is going to push.
No,
They're gonna work with Konowski right away. You saw the excuses after the first round talking about Konowski, wife being pregnant and this on his mind. They're gonna come up with the bottom line is Konowski is a average fighter who's probably going to end up fighting a guy like Andy Reese or somebody else, whatever, and then that's the end of it.
And that could be a very entertaining fight. I mean, I'm not opposed to the guy getting another good payday because that could be a main event fight, not a pay-per-view main event, but that could be a main event, smaller show somewhere. Konowski versus Ruiz, that'd be a great fight.
You know what I mean? Ruiz, honestly,
body type wise, that could actually be a good fight.
Yeah, the battle of the Buddha brothers. No, but I look at it. Konowski has no problem stepping in the ring with anybody. The guy's got heart. He's got guts. Andy Reese, on the other hand, after his showing against Chris Arreola that they try to say was such a spectacular show, and I'm like, I don't know what fight you were watching. He's going to take the soft road. Him and the Reynosos are going to take the soft road to try to get him back into a title shot. But with Alexander Usyk sitting up on top next to Tyson Fury, where's there to go?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump to what to me was the most disappointing fight of the entire weekend.
Yes.
Was F.A. Ajagba losing a 10-round unanimous decision to Frank Sanchez. Not only was it a stinker, right? It had a few little flashes, a couple of decent moments when second half of the fight, but one-dimensional F.A. Ajagba, I mean, you live by the punch, you die by the punch. And at no point did he ever come close to even landing anything flush on Sanchez for 10 straight rounds.
Well, we knew it was going to be a problem. Remember, Mike, we talked about it earlier. We said Frank Sanchez does come out of that highly decorated group that comes out of Cuba. I'm going to say it again. There's two sports in Cuba, baseball and boxing. It's not a big place. Only the best go. And the thing was, F.A. Ajagba, he just didn't have enough. And you saw it in his face around the 5th round, 6th round. He'd already given up. He'd already, submitted to Frank Sanchez. And it wasn't because Frank Sanchez was so elusive. Frank Sanchez was hitting him. Whenever Ajagba was coming in, he was telegraphing his punches, and Sanchez was countering him with harder punches. And Ajagba just, he
couldn't deal with Frank Sanchez's speed. Sanchez was very fast counter puncher.
And say what you said earlier, what you said last night about Ajagba. You said something last night.
He doesn't have killer instinct.
No, you said something about his opportunities after this point.
Oh, I mean, what opportunities? Who's gonna? I mean,
that's what I mean. You were kind of like, I don't see F.A. Ajagba getting another opportunity at this level, on a show like this again. That's it.
Oh no, he blew it.
He blew it.
He blew it. I mean, he stunk out the joint.
Yeah.
I mean, there were people booing in the crowd and everything, and these were people that were amped up and ready to watch fight. And every fight up until then had been very entertaining and exciting. And then these guys come out and stink up the place. Frank Sanchez, in the typical Cuban fashion, is not afraid to stink the joint out.
No.
Right? He's like Aristani Lara. They don't care. He's like Rigondeaux. They will stink the joint out and just win it, a comfortable decision every time. They don't care who they please. They're there to do their job. And I mean, I get it. At the end of the day, I get it. It works for them. But to put asses in the seats.
Well, you could hear it in Kid Corona's voice when he was talking to Ajagba. He was like, man, we had a great camp. I know, he's a good trainer. F.A. could have done so much more, but like I said, he just didn't want to deal with getting
hit,
knocked out or embarrassed, whatever. It's like, dude, at some point, because I could hear the frustration in Lennox Lewis's voice, because he knows F.A. and he's like, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. So he almost wants to shake the guy and tell him, dude, you better wake up. You're not going to get another opportunity. This is your world championship. You need to do something.
These rounds are going by real quick, man.
Yeah. So unfortunately, especially at his age, man, at 29, he doesn't got a lot more opportunities. So
yeah, and he looked far too content with that decision loss yesterday too.
He looked what?
He looked far too content with that loss. Didn't look like he took it hard at all. I don't know what he's feeling today, but he just, hugging and smiling after the fight. It's like, dude, what do you do? Your entire aura was just decimated by this guy, right? This power punching monster, a mystique was completely just evaporated in front of your eyes, and you're happy about it? I don't understand it.
But, the thing is, bros, for some reason, I think the biggest issue that we got in boxing right now is if you possess a good punch, you can't build your career off just your punch. You got to have more. These are not the days of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's in a group of fighters where he was an anomaly. He was this short, stocky guy that just came at different angles, and these guys weren't used to it and stuff. So Mike Tyson just had this trailblazing fire trail through the heavyweight division to the championship. Today it's a little bit different. These guys are going out there, relying on one punch, and eventually it catches up to them. You know what I'm saying? It really does. It catches up to them in a bad way. And in the situation with the Ajagba, you don't know where he's going to go. I do think that was a knockdown with Frank Sanchez that wasn't accredited to Ajagba. It was one of many blunders that the referees made during the night, but it is what it is.
Eric, what did you think about that fight?
The Ajagba fight, kind of boring. I mean, like you said, it just didn't seem like Ajagba wanted to engage.
Yeah, he didn't want to engage. Yeah,
I mean,
he was afraid. He was afraid of getting countered, and it showed.
Yeah,
he couldn't deal with the speed.
Well, at some point in a boxer's, or in a fight, you've got to say, damn the torpedoes and just go for it. You know what I mean? And he just didn't have the heart for that. You could tell he wasn't he wasn't hungry. He didn't seem hungry for the fight. And that makes for a boring fight. Especially
during all the pre-fight, weigh in and all that stuff. He was saying, basically telling Sanchez, you picked the wrong guy, you made a mistake, this and that. It's like, well, apparently he didn't. Apparently he did pick the right guy because he just exposed Ajagba. And I like Ajagba. I mean, AJ, you said you met him. I met him in Vegas a couple of years back. Nice guy, man. Great guy, man. Yeah, has that equalizer, kind of like Deontay, but nowhere near as skilled as Deontay. Nowhere. There was a time when I thought maybe those two guys could get in the ring, and not after what I saw last night. Deontay knocks that guy out in 2 rounds.
Well, there's a huge difference in heart. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. And that's what it is, heart. You know what I mean? You got to have the heart for it, and you've got to have that desire and that thirst for it.
Well, I'll give you a case in point. And I know we talk about him a lot, but he's our buddy, and I know he's out of boxing now. But Johnny Molina in his fight against Mickey Bay, there were so many times where Johnny could have just called it quits. I mean, he was getting annihilated, for the first 9 rounds. Going into the 10th round with not much time left, he was still trying. And you know what? That opportunity came up, and he ended up getting the victory. Yeah. These guys that go in there and just kind of say, okay, I'm just going to go through the motions and get the decision lost, go home and then rebuild. It doesn't work that way. You're better off just sit your stool and just saying, you know what, that's it, I'll take the TKO. Because either way, it's a loss. It doesn't matter, Yep.
Yeah.
But that's about all I got to say about those guys. It was a stinker of the night.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump to the main event. Tyson Fury wins. Was it TKO round 11, right?
Yes.
Yep. Round 11. Man, here's. I'll try to be brief. I'll give my little synopsis on what I think of the fight, about a minute or two, and then I'll let everybody and then AJ, you go, then Eric. Here's what I think. And I said this to my buddy Mike Montero. I sent him a message. I said, wildly entertaining fight. One of the most entertaining fights you'll ever see. I mean, it was like a Rocky movie. I mean, it was like one guy going out, one guy go. But if you sit back, I watched it again this morning. I found a stream online, believe it or not, that showed the entire fight again. I watched the entire fight again. Technically, one step up above a tough man competition.
Yeah.
All these guys did was throw one punch at a time. One punch. Occasionally Tyson would throw one or two. Occasionally Deontay would throw one or two. I watched a video last night and I just stumbled upon it of Shannon Briggs, right? Shannon Briggs did like a video with Fight Hype and he was talking about it and he said it best. Go watch it, guys. Just type in Fight Hype Shannon Briggs. He said it best. He said, man, and it pains him to say this. He's all, but man, these guys don't throw combinations. The fighters in the 90s. And I'm never one guy to give credit to the guys of years past, whether it's athletes or musicians. But these guys do not possess the boxing ability of a Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield, not even close, not even Tyson Fury, one and two punches at a time. These guys looked at times, the winging, the sloppy, wild punches. It looked like I was watching Art. What was that guy's name? Art Dorr. Art Dorr, who put the tough man competitions on, where you got guys out there. Yeah, they're wildly entertaining. And you're like, man, this is great. But is there any real skill involved? Nope.
No.
Heart by Deontay Wilder. But to me, it was technically, they both were so flawed. Deontay, because Deontay's never been the most prolific boxer. Tyson Fury, to me, looked like he out of shape. I'm surprised he made it to the 11th round. After 3 rounds, I think I texted you guys. I said Wilder's going to gas because he's throwing everything with bad intentions. Every single punch he was throwing hard. Those jabs to the body. All he did in that first round, and he won the first round, was that jab to the body, and he was crouching down to avoid that overhand right. That was his strategy, was jab and come down, and then he was throwing the straight right to the body. But everything was so damn hard. I said, he can't keep this pace up.
No.
At some point, he's going to have to, like I said in our fight show last week, lull him in. And in the 4th round, when he landed that straight right hand that dropped Tyson, that's exactly what he did. He let Tyson come to him.
And we said it all the time. Yeah.
That's all he needed to do. And anyways, that was my synopsis on the fight. Wildly entertaining, one of the most entertaining fights you've ever seen. But all these people, Frank Warren, everybody, it's not him, everybody. All these people talking about this was one of the best heavyweight fights ever. No. One of the most entertaining fights ever. I will give you that entertaining. Yes. Best. You do not know what you're watching if you say that. You do not know boxing if you say that.
No.
All you have to do is go. In fact, I saw more skill from Robert Helenius last night and the combinations and punches that he was throwing than either Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder exhibited last night in that main event.
Yep.
Well, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And like you said, when you're talking about there is a difference between entertaining and what you would consider a masterful performance.
Yeah.
Entertaining is what we saw last night. Masterful performance is when you see a guy like Lomachenko going up against a guy like Jorge Linares, 2 masterful fighters.
There you go.
Like chess match.
Exactly.
Yep.
The issue I had last night with Tyson Fury, and I'm going to touch on what you just talked about, bro, was his shape. It wasn't that Tyson didn't train for this fight. His intention was to come in big. But it's a tactic that he uses time and time again. He knew it worked in the 2nd fight. He was going to use it in the 3rd fight. Deontay thought that the upper body strength was going to help him. And that's his crashing the gate technique. Not one warning from Russell Moore. I understand there's not an official rule, but there's just this unspoken thing AJ, between fighters. What's that?
You're talking about what Tyson leaning on?
No, I'm not just talking about the lean. I'm talking about throwing punches and then physically throwing his body into whenever a fighter bumps into another fighter and the fighter bends over the ropes, that's called crashing the gate. He did that on numerous occasions. Do that. Walk to a boxing ring and put your back over there with somebody on you and tell me what it does to you after a while. It's a dirty tactic. He put Deontay. Now I'm not making excuses for Deontay Wilder. I'm just telling you some of the things that I observed from Tyson Fury and what he was doing. The headlocks, 5 or 6 of them. Russell Moore gave him finally started giving him some warnings about that. You know he's going to put his weight on him and stuff. At the end of the day, I look at it this way. You're right, Mike. 2 very unpolished fighters. If that's our heavyweight champion, because I'll be honest with you, I've never been impressed with Tyson Fury's skills. He moves, pretty decent for a guy his size and stuff, but he's sloppy. If Alexander Usyk had another, 40, 50 pounds on him, I still think he has an opportunity in the fight. But if Tyson's allowed to do those, crashing the gate and do these dirty tactics against a guy like that, it's not fair. I mean, this isn't MMA. This isn't WWE. This is boxing. And when you're allowed to continue to do these dirty things that you continue to do, that's become a part of his, the things that he does in the ring, it's got to stop. I mean, you got to get a referee in there that's going to tell him, hey, listen, the next time I see you, push him where he's going to fall over the ropes, I'm gonna deduct a point. The next time I see you doing this, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but did you guys see? And Eric, tell me if you saw this too. Russell Moore was in on these guys instantly.
Yeah,
he did not allow clenching at all the entire 7 rounds
because he knew what was happening. He knew that every time that it was happening, Tyson Fury was positioning Deontay to put his weight on him. He didn't want that to happen.
Well, regardless of what he thought was going to happen, Russell Moore was given the instruction to break these guys instantly, and he was constantly breaking these guys. Literally, they would both, even if they were both simultaneously, maybe wanted to take a 5-10 second rest because they were both tired because they were gassed after 3 rounds. He was instantly in there slapping away, screaming at them.
Well, right. It was just like the knockdowns. The first knockdown that Tyson Fury suffered, Russell Moore didn't even start counting, so he told Deontay to go to the corner. Deontay went. I don't know what happened, but he stopped count, turned around and told Deontay again, go back, and then went back and started. I'm like, dude, this shit's got to stop, man. I'm not saying it's just bad officiating.
I had heard something like that yesterday, but I didn't really pay attention to it because it looked like at no point was Tyson he knew he had to get up. It wasn't like he was even as hurt as he was in the first fight where he was flat on his back. I mean, he was cognizant.
He was hurt though in that.
The first one, he was cognizant. The second one, he didn't even really get hit with a punch. He had no, actually he did. He got hit in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Deontay threw this punch that landed on the back of his head, and then it didn't put him down immediately. Then he took a step, and then he fell down, and then he laid there for a second. I'm thinking, is he who did that? He reminded me of Buster Douglas when Buster Douglas laid there and kind of pounded the canvas for a second. It's like, are you going to get up? Are you going to get up?
No, but closing my thing, what I was going to say was that, kudos to Fury for doing what he had to do. He stuck to his game plan, whatever his tactics are and stuff. I always love his singing at the end. But, you got to take your hats off to Deontay, regardless if he's got the skill or not. Anybody who thinks he's done, Tyson Fury is absolutely right. He's the second best heavyweight in the world. Who else has got that size of heart or can do what he did in that fight?
Well, let's talk about our personal feelings. I want to hear Eric synopsis of what he thought of the fight too.
No, okay. So yeah, I thought it was very sloppy, like you were saying, Michael. It was just a very sloppy fight.
Very sloppy fight.
Very sloppy, and it was like two big giant rhinoceroses just butting heads and
it looked like those giraffes when those giraffes how they hit each other like that.
But I mean, there were some bombs thrown. I mean, the fact that it was an entertaining fight, so that I will give you. It's like watching Rocky 2, and actually getting to watch all of the rounds. But unlike Rocky 2 actually had some skill, whereas, this really didn't have any. Like you guys were saying, it just looked like two big oafs and they're just pounding on each other. And so at the end of the day, Fury did enough to win the fight. But I think I have a little bit more respect for Deontay Wilder, just his pure heart. I mean, the guy, you could see he wanted to do more. But in the beginning of the fight, when I saw, and Michael, I think we were talking a little bit. Yeah, he was putting everything he possibly could on it, but he had a plan. He had a game plan in that first round, and I easily gave him that first round.
Yeah.
Easily. Yeah. If he would have even just slowed it down to the and kind of stayed with that body attack, because that body attack was brutal, what he was hitting Fury with. And you saw Fury take those body shots, and just in the first round, you could see, holy crap, if he did that for 3 rounds, do you realize what would have happened?
Yeah.
It would have been a whole different fight. It would have been a whole different fight, because there's no way in the world that somebody could take that much body trauma and make it to the 8th or 9th round. But he stopped. It's like he stopped after a round and a half.
Well, like I said, he gassed. They both gassed. They were both sucking wind so bad in the 4th round. In the 3rd round, when Fury dropped him, Deontay was exhausted. Yeah, he got hit with a pretty good little funny uppercut shot, and he ended up going down. But he was already gassed. And then Fury was gassed the very next round when he got dropped. He was completely gassed because Well, I mean, people want to say, well, he was out of the ring 20 months. They both were out of the ring 20 months, whatever. But yeah, that's true. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I just felt like it was just, if Alexander Usyk was 2 inches taller and had 10 more pounds on it, he would knock both those guys out in the same night, or maybe not knock them out, but he would school both those guys in the same night.
Yeah, I don't know about knockout. He's got the kind of power.
Yeah, he doesn't have stamina issues whatsoever, right? Yep. He went 12 rounds, mentally hard rounds with Anthony Joshua, right? Yeah. Very mentally hard, because he was fighting the bigger guy with and AJ does have a good punch, and he's pretty quick for a heavyweight.
But AJ fought the exact fight that Usyk knew he was going to fight. He was going to come in there cautious. I mean, Usyk picked the right opponent at the right time. He knew it. Yep. No, nothing against Usyk. I think he's an amazing talent, and I love to watch what he does. He didn't pick
the right opponent at the right time. He was the mandatory. It wasn't like I'm saying it's like he was the champion and he picked what contender he's.
No, but I'm saying he got the luck of the draw where that was the right fighter. Because I mean, it'd be a different story, obviously, if he was fighting against a Tyson Fury or
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I know I'm going to sound crazy
Tyson
here, but
Fury's too big. I'm going to go back to. I think there needs to be a super heavyweight division. Look at last night. Tyson Fury almost outweighed Deontay out there by 60 pounds.
No, AJ, come on, man. We got to be factual here. Deontay Wilder weighed in at 238. Okay. Tyson Fury weighed in at 277.
Okay, so how many is that?
That's 39 pounds.
Okay, 39 pounds. We get on fighters like Munguia for outweighing a guy by 3 pounds or 4
but
pounds.
if we're gonna throw numbers out, we can't just pull a number like 60 out of the air.
What I'm saying is that this is the argument I'm talking about. Is that we need a super heavyweight division because Alexander Usyk will never hold the unified crown. Tyson Fury will break him in half. He's too small. He can't run from the guy all night. There's no fucking way.
Okay, well, AJ, I'll tell you what. I saw Usyk go up against a bigger Anthony Joshua.
But a timid Anthony Joshua who doesn't bum brush you. I'm talking about the dirty tactics that Tyson Fury implements. If Tyson Fury didn't have those dirty tactics, I would go all day with Usyk. I think he's got the skill. He just doesn't have the size to deal with a guy. You saw it last night. A big, strong guy like Deontay Wilder couldn't hold off Fury.
Okay. However, let me just ask you, who's faster, Usyk or Wilder?
I don't know. Usyk's he's not a fast fighter to me. He's not that he's a more technically sound fighter. His punches are cleaner. He doesn't waste punches. He understands what Deontay doesn't understand. Deontay gassed himself by throwing power punches in the first round. Usyk would never do that. Usyk's best strategy against a guy like Tyson Fury would be to take him into deep water and hopefully make this big guy swing and miss, kind of like what happened with Clubber Lang when he was swinging at Rocket. He misses and he gassed out. Do that. That's the only chance he's got. I would love to see it, but it's an unfair advantage when you got a 6'9" guy that's almost 300 pounds going up against a guy who's how tall is Usyk? What, 6'3" and weighing in about 227 or more. It's not fair, man. There has to be a super heavyweight division. They really need to kind of have like a little middle ground. It'd be better.
Well,
that would be like you versus Raul Limos.
I'm just saying. To me, that's just me personally. I think it's an unfair advantage for a guy like Fury when you're that big and then you have a small ring. We knew he was going to have a small ring. So, if he's going to fight Usyk, he's going to put Usyk in a bull ring, in this little tiny ring, and Usyk's going to spend more energy avoiding those rushes, and trying to make Tyson pay, because every time Tyson grabs you, he puts his weight on you, he hits you, he does all these tactics and stuff. And that burns you out, man.
But I think Usyk has way better feet than both these guys, and he'll be able to avoid those, and not by pulling straight back like Deontay. Deontay was getting hit because Deontay doesn't understand the concept of getting off the line. He pulls straight back every single time, and Malik Scott wasn't going to show him anything. Usyk will pivot to both sides of him. And to avoid shots and make him pay. And is he gonna land a crushing blow and knock Tyson out? No, but he could tire Tyson out. He could he could tire him out if he survives for the bull rushing tactics for the first half of the fight. You never know what could happen in the second half of the fight.
Here's a good scenario, bro. You talked about it earlier too. Derek Chisora. We talked about why Chisora was so successful against Usyk compared to Anthony Joshua. You even said it because Chisora was aggressive and he went at Usyk and he was doing those things. Derek Chisora is nowhere near the size of Tyson Fury. And you saw the problems that Usyk had in that fight. No disrespect to Usyk. Usyk is amazing. He did what he had to do. He won the fight. If you can somehow figure out how to do that for whether it's, half the rounds or 12 rounds where you got to avoid that Tyson Fury bullshit that he does, putting guys in a little ring and he gets away with these tactics, I go with Usyk all day. I would love to see him knock Tyson Fury cold.
You think that was a small ring that they fought in last night?
Oh yeah, for a heavyweight,
it was a 22 by 22 ring. It was a standard size ring.
Well,
but they're just so goddamn big. It looks smaller.
Well, the commentators were saying it was a small ring. They're saying it was a smaller ring because they were talking about Frank Sanchez, how he's used to a bigger ring.
Okay. I don't. You can't get much bigger than that one, man. That was a good size ring. But those guys are just big. They're physically just big guys.
Okay, brothers, I'm sorry, but I gotta go.
No problem, brother.
Yeah, we have some rooms tonight.
Yeah. So I gotta go.
Well, good, man.
And keep up the good work. And I'll talk to you guys later. Okay.
All right, brother, man. See you later.
Bye.
No, but like I said,
AJ, I want to talk about, but it's something you touched on too, because here's one thing, and it might not be a mystery. I've always been a big Deontay Wilder fan. I mean, although for the last 5 years, with all the talk about him versus Anthony Joshua, I was always on the Deontay Wilder train. I always knew that if he was, yes, he was flawed, and yes, there was things I thought he could do better, but there were times when he showed greatness in his fights with Stavern. Yeah, Stavern, whatever you want to say about Stavern, the way he beat him the first fight by boxing, the way he beat him in the rematch. I will say Deontay Wilder's heart to me yesterday, goddamn, it was one of the biggest displays of heart I've ever seen from a fighter in my life. He got hit with some monster shots. Granted, not the most technically sound shots, but they were big shots landing, and he refused to go.
That's always been his MO. Remember with King Kong Ortiz, same situation. I mean, didn't we watch him take those punches? We're like, dude, how are you still standing?
Yeah. But my only problem with Deontay was all, like I said, it was all the excuses after the first fight, and I still don't like after the fight. Maybe he'll come to his senses. Maybe time will set in and he'll understand that, hey, Tyson's just the better fighter than me. Whether it be tactics or whatever, I didn't employ the right tactics to beat this man or whatever. But I just wish he would just. I would have felt so much better for him to just give credit and soften his heart a little bit. But I understand that he's a proud warrior. Maybe it wasn't the right time. Maybe wait till after he's able to go to the hospital, come back, and then go meet him in the dressing room and talk to him or whatever. That would have been nice. But that's the only knock I have against Wilder and some of his team. And granted, the teams, both teams exhibited a lot of classless shit the last couple of days with all the trash talking back and forth. But at the end of the day, Tyson Fury was man enough to give the credit, even the entire team around him. Malik Scott did do an interview this morning early that I saw where he was giving credit to Tyson and Sugar Hill and everybody. I just wish that Deontay would take a little bit of that and just be like, hey, look at, because a lot of people love to kick you when you're down.
Yeah.
Right. And right now people are kicking Deontay Wilder that he's down.
They should though.
No, they shouldn't, but more so because of the fact that he wasn't being a good sport about the loss.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. I think he just needs to just rise above that.
We talked about it prior to this fight. You know what I'm saying, bro? And we both agree on that is that Deontay's mental state was the biggest thing. Like I said, I'm a huge Deontay Wilder fan, but I lost a lot of respect for Deontay and all his bullshit tactics and things he was saying, how he wasn't accepting that loss. We've been talking about this for months leading into this fight. But, the classless shit, at some point, there's got to be one person who just kind of says, you know what, man, I'm going to be the classy guy. I'm going to be the good guy. You could be the villain if that's what you want to do. And in this case, there really wasn't a good guy. And they're both the villains in a way.
Yeah.
They both showed very little class with one another. At the very end, Deontay tried to go with this very calm demeanor, but let's be honest, that's all bullshit. Tyson Fury kind of lost his shit, and he's, what he needs to do is turn around and tell his curly haired brother, shut the fuck up, because he ends up starting most of the arguments in the first place. But at the end of the day, holding that heavyweight championship, it's an honor, and you have to honor the title like any champions. We have so many champions out there. Let's be honest. Teofimo's on. I can name a list of guys that don't deserve to even, let alone have the honor of being named the champion, to even have an opportunity to fight for that championship. Let's be honest. Teofimo should never even got that opportunity against Lomachenko in the first place.
Speaking of Teofimo, did you see his interview? He was there for fight week. I saw an interview with him where he was talking about this. This was embarrassing. The boxing media almost started laughing at him when he said, well, I deserve, because he was trying to talk Bob Arum about and Jose.
Talking about the Haney fight, right?
No. He was talking about making a catchweight fight between him and Josh Taylor.
Yeah.
And Mauricio Suleiman's telling him, when you fight for the 135-pound title, the 135-pound title is that's the limit. The 135 pounds is the limit. You fight for that title. You fight for 140 pounds, that's the limit. And he was like, well, they did it for Tank and they did it for Leo Santa Cruz. And then they were saying that was the WBA. Anyways, the kid's stupid, but he actually said something to one of the reporters. He said, well, I should do this because the numbers don't lie. I put people in the seats. It's like, dude, you have not fought in over a year. You couldn't sell 2,000 seats in Miami, so they switched the date on you. This kid is beyond delusional.
Now the Zone picked it up.
No, well, they won the purse. They won they were the second in line at the purse bid. So yeah, they're going to show the fight though. But what I'm saying is this kid actually thinks he sells tickets.
I got worse. During that same interview, I know exactly what you're talking about. He started talking about Devin Haney and saying how Devin Haney priced himself out at $10 million. He's all, that guy ain't worth $10 million. He's all, I'm the only guy out there worth $10 million. I'm like, dude, what world are you living in? These are the things that I'm telling you, bro. It's no different than a big mouth lightweight who never earned it, or a heavyweight guy who allows himself to go down that classless route, keeps flipping the guy out. I mean, just have some class, man. Show that, I love what he did at the end with the singing. I know that in his heart, he loves Deontay. He's glad he's okay. And I know Tyson's a great guy, probably an amazing guy to go to his house and eat food and drink beer and watch soccer. Believe me, I would love to do it. But at the end of the day, we need more people like Alexander Usyk. Usyk wouldn't have done that. He just would have went up there and gave that funny grin and made you feel really weird.
And Anthony Joshua as well.
Yeah,
Anthony Joshua does not make excuses. He's very classy, man.
Hey, he took the loss to Alexander Usyk and made no excuses.
No,
and that's why Anthony will rebound and probably do something again. I don't know if he'll be successful against Usyk. He would have to.
I read something about just today. I actually read something about Tyson Fury and the reason why he's relocated to Vegas. He lives in Henderson. Yes, he still has a home in Manchester. But why he fights his fights here? He feels that after he won the title against Klitschko and they didn't get into too much detail, but I think I understand. The culture that we live in now, right? Tyson Fury being the Gypsy King and proud of his Gypsy heritage and whatever. It's almost frowned upon. You know what I mean? Because it's not. I don't know. It's not the fashionable thing these days. All you got to do is look at TV and watch TV commercials.
They were the peasants. They were the thieves. They were the.
Well, it's not just that though. It goes beyond that. What I'm saying is like it's fashionable to be like, like if Nike has an opportunity to put their money behind an Anthony Joshua or a Tyson Fury, traditionally it's been guys like Tyson Fury over the decades, but because of the way the culture is now, the PC culture, it's going to now lean towards lean towards Anthony Joshua or somebody, a person of color or whatever. And that's nothing wrong with that. Anthony Joshua is a great role model, but he's kind of he feels like he doesn't get the respect from the British boxing public. So he's really trying to make the American fans his fans,
which I think he's doing. I mean, you saw
he has no desire to go fight back in the UK.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
And that's the thing I love about Tyson Fury. And I love that he did that little song about Vegas. It's almost like an homage to like his hometown, his new adopted hometown of Las Vegas. He's like, I love Las Vegas. And that's great because he's building a fan base. He's not just a guy who's coming in and visiting, stealing the money and taking off. He's a guy that lives there. He's a guy that you could run into over at the casinos. He's a guy that you might run into over at the Lowry's when you're having food, whatever. But like I said, I just like to see Tyson, not that he's ever been the classiest guy, but I want to see him spend more energy on what he needs to do in order to honor that championship, because this talking bullshit is never gonna bridge that gap. And that one championship out there with Alexander Usyk, which I don't know if it's gonna happen. I would love to see it happen. I know Usyk will do it. Usyk has no problem with it. We got to see if Tyson Fury's people are going to be excited to do it. Because let's be honest, as much as I'm going to press the issue that I think Tyson is way too big for Usyk.
Yeah.
When a guy like Usyk has the kind of skill that Usyk has and determination, he's just a weird guy. Let's be honest. He's just a weird guy. You don't really know, because that Alexander Usyk that fought against Anthony Joshua was not the guy who fought against Chisora, was not the guy who fought against Witherspoon. It was a completely different monster. So Usyk's already shown the ability to evolve and make himself the perfect, person for that fight. So believe me, he watched that fight last night. And I guarantee Usyk's already taking notes and doing what he needs to do.
And I agree with you. I think that at first glance, I said, man, Tyson's just too big. He's just too goddamn big for Usyk. But then again, I started thinking about, well, Steve Cunningham gave Tyson I know this was years ago. This was 9 years ago, but he gave Tyson a pretty rough time and even dropped him hard, thinking Steve Cunningham was a cruiserweight. And I'm thinking, Alexander Usyk's a cruiserweight.
A cruiserweight was that? What's about a lightweight? I mean, a light heavyweight.
Yeah, weirder things have happened. But you're right, though. At first glance, Tyson's just so goddamn big. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think we'll see a Wilder Fury fight again. But I don't know. Maybe they try to match Fury to just defend his title against, I don't know, maybe a Helenius, which I think will be, for as long as it'll last, I think it'll be an entertaining fight. Because what is Helenius? 6'6", 6'7"?
Helenius is 6'9".
He's at, he's not as tall as Tyson, but
he is. He's 6'9".
Yeah.
He's a 6'9". 6'8".
He's a big boy.
But he's shaped differently. He's a different 6'9". You know what I'm saying? He's a different. Helenius came in at what, 248, I believe?
246 or 247, yeah.
Which you could tell Tyson could have came in.
He was in good shape.
No, Helenius is in great shape. But the thing is that they have to unify this title. This title has to get unified. This has been going on for way too long. Tyson Fury's got one piece of it. Alexander Usyk's got all the rest of the pieces of the puzzle right now.
And it looks like Usyk's going to have to fight the rematch with Joshua. I think he's exercising the rematch.
Already talked about that. Yeah, they're going to have to do that. Which I don't see any reason why Usyk isn't successful in the rematch. Maybe even in more devastating fashion. Depends on what Anthony Joshua shows up. I just don't know if Anthony Joshua, like Robert Helenius and several other fighters, something's just missing upstairs that just doesn't allow him to be, that animal instinct just isn't there. You know what I'm saying? Where Usyk, you saw, had it. We almost put him to sleep at the end when they had that quick stop. I mean, when the round ended fast.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury's got that killer instinct too. Something that Deontay Wilder's even kind of lost at times. You know what I'm saying? It'd be an interesting matchup. I still think that the size. Now, if Alexander Usyk can get his people to talk with the officials, say, hey, listen, these bull rush tactics, this crashing the gate shit's got to stop. Now, the only way that you can make Tyson stop is to trick him, because Alexander's so good, you know, with his movement, bait Tyson in and then move at that quick moment, let Tyson look like a complete idiot like they do in WWE, smash against the ropes, fall on the ground a couple times, maybe he'll stop doing that shit. But whenever Tyson grabs him, he's got to get out of that break. He can't allow himself to clinch with the guy because the guy's going to put his weight on him. And regardless of what people say, that stuff is the kind of stuff that wears you out over the time. It starts to wear out your back, starts to wear out your legs, and you know.
Hey, you know what I want to ask you real quick, and we'll close on this because we're closing in on an hour. But you know, a heavyweight guy that really has kind of gotten lost in the shuffle a little bit, and we haven't talked about a lot about lately, was Joe Joyce. You know, Joe Joyce is a big heavyweight too, 6'6", has that big one over Dubois. And then he had, I don't remember the guy he fought in one last time, but he stopped somebody recently. What do you think, Joe Joyce, where's he at in this scope of things? Is he in line for a shot at something or somebody, or are they going to make? I
would think so. I mean, I think that the heavyweight division is thinned out so much. I mean, let's be honest. How many times are we going to be able to retread guys like Derek Chisora and Dillian White?
But there's a lot of good guys. Okay, look at you got Daniel Dubois still, who had a comeback win. Joe Joyce, Helenius is on the come up. You got, of course, you got Usyk. You got Joshua, who's coming off that loss.
Got Andy Ruiz,
Wilder, Fluid, Andy Reese, King Kong Ortiz. Frank Sanchez just won a big fight. So yeah, the heavyweight division did thin out earlier, but I think it's back. I think it's safe to. There's enough guys right now to make it exciting.
I would definitely think that Joe Joyce is in the top 5 just based on his performances. Let's be honest. A lot of people did not want to step in the ring with Daniel Dubois. Dillian White was one guy that priced himself out of that fight, and several others. Joe Joyce went in there and won that fight in dominating fashion. He looked really good in his last fight. He's got the size. He's got the, you know, like I said, you met him personally. You know, he's a very humble man. You know.
Oh yeah, Dillian White too. He's got his fight with Otto Wallin coming up, and I mean, I'm not a big Dillian White fan, to be honest with you, but I mean, I think he deserves a shot at one of those belts. I really do.
Well, the Otto Wallin fight against Tyson Fury was much closer than the scorecards indicated. You know, he had Tyson cut.
That's the one. He had him cut bad.
Yeah, and hurt on several occasions. Otto Wallin, you know what I'm saying? He's a guy who spars with a lot of the top people. He's worked with Anthony Joshua and amongst others. This could be a different Otto Wallin. If he goes in there and beats Dillian White, he might get another shot. Maybe this time.
Mr. Joseph Parker was there last night. You know, he's obviously very good friends with Tyson. And granted, I don't think he'll ever beat Tyson Fury, but where does he end up in all this? I mean, does he get another crack at one of these guys, or what?
I don't know, man. I
think they could put another big heavyweight pay-per-view card on and make it entertaining. With the next tier of guys, Dubois, Dillian, Joe Joyce.
If I was going to put together a fantasy match right now, I'd do this. I would put Alexander Usyk against, obviously, main event against Tyson Fury. Okay. My co-main event, what I would do is I would put Otto Wallin against Anthony Joshua. This is just me just thinking out loud. Then I would put Joe Joyce against someone like a Dillian White or something like this. One of these guys that, you know, or better yet, I put Joe Joyce against Andy Reese. Since Andy Reese is, you know, that'd be honestly, I think that's a winnable fight for Joe Joyce. I think just based on the fact he has better boxing skills, maybe not as fast, but he's got that range and he fights like a tall fighter and he holds a lot more power than people give him credit for. Go back and watch his fights against Daniel Dubois, amongst others. The guy's got some pop.
He's got a good jab.
Yeah. I mean, there's some very interesting fights there. You know, I mean, you take a guy like you just talked about it right now with Joseph Parker. You could put Joseph Parker in there with a guy like Dillian White, or you could put Joseph Parker in there with, you know, several of these other guys, or Daniel Dubois. How about Joseph Parker and Daniel Dubois? There's a lot of interesting matchups, and I know guys like Eddie Hearn will make a lot of these fights. The heavyweights haven't seemed like they don't want to fight each other, but my concern is right now, I really want to see those titles unified. I know we keep hearing about it. Tiafimo made that comment about, you know, why doesn't everybody else start unifying the titles and stuff like I did? Dude, you didn't unify nothing, dude. You were handed over a platter on filled with controversy. That most of the people that were your fans that agreed with you went back to watch a fight. Goes, you know what? Now that I thought it again, I don't think you won that fight, dude. At least that's not how way a champion should lose a fight.
No. The only undisputed champion right now, to me, the legitimate is will possibly be Canelo in a month's time, and Josh Taylor is.
Let's talk briefly real quick right before we're gonna close out right now and stuff. But I don't know if you heard those statements that Khalid Plant, Caleb, I'm sorry. I keep thinking to myself, you know, how diggable, you know, like I said, it's boxing. Anything could happen. Maybe he comes in with the perfect game plan and he beats Canelo. But, you know, that's I give Deontay Wilder a better shot of beating Tyson Fury in a fourth fight than I give Plant in beating Canelo. He's just digging himself into a hole.
Yeah.
But, you know, the light heavyweight's also another division. You know, you got guys like, you know, so many good fighters out there right now where guys, you know, they can either transition into the cruiserweight, or you can have some of these guys with Callum Smith moving into this. I would love to see it. I mean, he looked devastating in his last fight at light heavyweight. He's a guy obviously that was struggling to make 168. There's some good fighters. David Benavidez is talking about going up to the light heavyweight. I think the light heavyweight division is this close to becoming the hottest division in boxing. I honestly do.
Light heavyweight, yeah. Well, like I said, if these guys make that jump, if Benavidez makes that jump, I don't see why he couldn't make the jump. He's a big guy. I was thinking about that last night about Berlanga against someone like a David Benavidez, and what an absolute destruction that would have been last night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know,
I think Berlanga would still be in dreamland if he would have fought someone like a Benavidez last night.
Well, anybody that wants to get a good laugh, go back and watch Edgar Berlanga when he was in the gym, when he's talking about Gabe Rosado, talking about how he would knock out Gabe Rosado, how he's been trying to get a fight. You know, I got a better idea for you, Berlanga. Why don't you go fight Gabe Rosado's victim, Beck the Bully? And if you can get past Beck the Bully, then maybe we'll discuss Rosado.
Yeah, which I don't think he will.
No.
Yeah.
The days of these guys doing what they do, bro, like I said, it is. But last night it was, you know, as hard as it was to watch at times and stuff, because they were so sloppy, it was entertaining. And I think that's
very entertaining. It was sloppy.
You know, I just wish that I was in a room full of my brothers and my buddies drinking beer, watching it, because that was the kind of fight that you want to be there watching, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, you know, when you're by yourself, you're just like talking to the walls. I'm screaming at the walls all night, you know, but
yeah,
it is what it is. But we got some big fights. Any big fights coming up this Saturday real quick before we get off?
I know there's something coming up this weekend. We have some big fights coming up. I mean, maybe we'll wait till Tuesday to talk about it, but maybe on Tuesday we can talk about the the Porter Crawford fight, the just signed Tank Davis versus Rolly Romero fight. That's coming up too in December. So there's.
You told me. I thought you were faking. I thought you were joking about that when you said that.
No.
Wow.
No, that's just a stay busy fight for that's a stay busy fight for Tank. He's gonna just take that easy money, knock Rolly out really quick, and then go about his business. I'm trying to see real quick on BoxRec. I know there's there might be another fight.
Well, while you're talking about that, I was talking about, obviously, you know, one of the fights that we're really excited about. Obviously,
this Friday is Joet Gonzalez versus Emmanuel Navarrete this Friday on ESPN Plus, I believe.
Hey, you know what? I know, bro. You said, hey, Joet, you know, he's not
Mikey Garcia fights on Saturday too. He fights
against Martin.
Sander Martin.
Yeah. A non-puncher.
Huey Fury is fighting Christian Hammer.
That'd be good.
In the UK, yeah, maybe. I thought Huey was done, but I guess David Price is done. David Price called it a career.
Yeah,
felt bad for David Price. Seemed like a good guy. He just took way too many big shots.
You know, and a guy who had skill, man. You know, he came back and looked good there for a while, but he just didn't have no chin, man.
And then 2 weeks from now we got a Jamel Herring versus Shakur Stevenson.
That's gonna be a wake up call. That's gonna be a wake up call right there.
Oh, and then the following week we got Chon Cepeda defending Dillian White versus Otto Wallin. Yes, and then so we're gonna stay busy up until the end of the year, and then of course in November we got Canelo versus Caleb. So it's gonna be interesting, man. There's gonna be some good fights coming up. Still, finish off the year strong.
I saw a quick little thing. They were talking to Sebastian Fandora when I was trying to bring up the 154-pound.
Yeah, he's due for a fight, right?
Well, they're about to announce his opponent, and it's somebody within the top 10. I don't know who it is, so I was trying to, I'm looking at thinking like, who's the guy who's ready to fight? For some reason, I got this really irking feeling it's gonna be Jared Hurd. I don't know why. I just got this irking feeling it's gonna be Jared Hurd. That's
gonna be interesting.
That's a very interesting matchup, because Jared Hurd poses a different threat. He's not as tall as Fandora, but he's a big guy for 154 pounds, and he's got a lot to prove coming off that loss. So that's an interesting thing if it does happen. But we said it first here at Ring Live. If it does happen,
yeah, Fandora versus Jared. Yeah.
But hey,
all right, bro. I'm gonna
good show today, bro.
I'm tired, man.
I know you don't feel good, bro.
Yeah, I'll be all right. All right, man. Well, that was a good one. Once again, congratulations to all the fighters on the card yesterday. And like I said, Deontay Wilder, man, hold your head up high, because I really think in terms of what he accomplished in that ring last night and what he's accomplished his entire career, he has nothing to be ashamed of. He fought like a warrior, even in defeat in the last two fights. Never say die, never quit attitude. In fact, when the referee wheeled that fight off last night, there's no doubt in my mind Deontay would have somehow managed to get to his feet, because that's just the kind of guy he is. So,
yeah, well, like I said, I got a little melancholy when Deontay was sitting in the corner and his trainer was talking to him and stuff.
Yeah,
and he had that look in his eyes, and you could hear when he was telling me, he's like, "I tried." It's like, it's sad.
I know, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough. It's a tough sport. It's a brutal sport.
But if you're gonna lose that way. Lose trying. Don't be a guy who goes in and just goes through the motions and loses.
I just want the people that have always been the detractors and the naysayers of Deontay to give credit where credit is due. And for the most part, I'm seeing that. I'm reading a lot of people that are saying, "Man, you know what? I was never a Deontay Wilder fan, but goddamn, that guy has heart, man."
Let's be honest. I mean,
he always had heart. He always had heart. He always was going to go out on his shield. They act like the guy was, making excuses for and finding his way out of fights with faking injuries or something, or, oh, he hit me low or whatever, like Bernard Hopkins used to do. You know what I mean?
Hey, it's like what Deontay said. There was a reason why he called himself the Bronze Bomber, and it wasn't just because he won the bronze medal in the Olympics. It's because he knew for his entire career he was always going to be looked upon as an other door, as something other than, But he proved that a guy can have a tarnished bronze medal and go on to heavyweight supremacy. Even though he was a long reigning champion, but he just lost to the better man.
Yeah, and he could pick up a nice paycheck last night. I heard it was right around 40 million. That we know about.
Yeah,
that's what we know. So, anyways,
all right, man. You get some rest, bro, man.
Yeah, for everybody at Enter the Ring Live, thanks for tuning in. Your host, Mighty Mike,
AJ Rage.
We'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Have a good night, bro. Get better.
Thanks, bro.
Bye.